there's no way. I'm already so still burning. So hold me close now, baby. I do what I'm told, still learning to take my chances, to take my time, to keep on dancing, to walk that line, yeah. You got me shifting the paradigm, no longer wishing, you're my lucky strike. Love the way you ride, look into my eyes, say you're ready to go. $1 million life, yeah. We could roll the dice, act like you're surprised, but you already know. Oh yeah, got lucky overnight. Jackpot when I got the invite. Let me wrap my arms around you, cause I can't go home without you. And my heart just vibe with you, babe. Wanna go sky high with you, babe. Gotta bring you close to tell you that you're my lucky strike. And I got to tell you, if you didn't know, then I got to tell you that you're my lucky strike. And I got to tell you, if you didn't know, then I got to tell you that you're my lucky strike. Cooler than cold, I'm all in. So load up the dice, so heavy. The way that you roll, I'm falling. So I never fall, I'm ready to take my chances, to take my time, to keep on dancing, to walk that line, yeah. You got me shifting the paradigm, no longer wishing, you're my lucky strike. Love the way you ride, look into my eyes, say you're ready to go. $1 million life, yeah. We could roll the dice, yeah. Act like you surprised, but you already know. You're my lucky strike, and I got to tell you, if you didn't know, then I got to tell you that you're my lucky strike. And I got to tell you, if you didn't know, then I got to tell you that you're my lucky strike.
Hello, folks. Well, you know you're in for a treat when you hear that tune, because it's time for another week of the RecPoker podcast. I am super excited to be here as your host, like I am every week, because I have the best freaking job in the world. My name's Jim Reed. I'm Bluffsterini in the home game, and at RecPoker Jim on Twitter. We're going to be talking to Abby Merk in just a moment, but first, I have to thank our sponsors, because most of what we do here at RecPoker is free. We're a largely volunteer-based organization, and so sponsorship of great places like the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino means a lot to us, and we would not exist without their support. And more on that coming soon, because it's RecPoker Weekend week in RecPoker Nation. We are coming to Running Aces this weekend. The horde descends is how I like to think about it. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to be there making peanut butter and jam sandwiches and buying beers for friends. So come on down if you haven't already. So we got to thank the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. We've got to thank our premium members, and we got 3 new premium members since we were last on the air. So I'm really excited. I want to thank Robert Kreidel, Brian Schmuck, and Garen Yamashita. Garion and Brian are both winners of the veterans campaign that we did with Angela Jorgensen and Jackie Berthart a little while ago. And so I'm really looking forward to getting to know them a little better as they explore the membership here. And I also want to shout out Scott Pletka, who used our rec.poker/support page to hand off a little donation to help us with what we do here at RecPoker, because like I say, most of what we do here is free, and we really do depend on the support of our premium members and our listeners like yourselves. The other people that make all the magic happen here are the Wrecking Crew. You get used to hearing my voice on Monday nights, but I am just one of the village, the crew, the group that make all the magic happen here. And if you want to find out more about me and the rest of the Wrecking Crew, you can go to rec.poker/crew, but just listen up. You're going to meet a few of them right here tonight.
I'm Chris Jones. You can find me 5v5 on Threads or 5x5 in the PokerStars home game.
My name is Joe Coolis. You can find me on Twitter at JoeCoolPhD, cool with a K, or in the home game at Elvita11.
And I am John Somsky, also known as Poker Geek MN everywhere.
Well, folks, we did it. We thanked the premium members, the Wrecking Crew members, the sponsors. Let's get into the interview. So I'm super excited to be welcoming Abby Merk, Abby Poker, as she goes by on a lot of the social handles these days. Chris is expanding his realm into Threads. I don't know if that's in your future, Abby, but welcome to the RecPoker podcast. Thanks for giving us a little time today.
Thanks so much for having me, you guys. I'm super excited to be here. Can't wait to get into it. Got a couple stories that I think the viewers will be interested in hearing, a couple hand histories that are super fun. So very excited to be here.
Nice. Well, regular listeners might recall this time about last year was when Grandpa George Sanford and I were hanging our heads in shame because Abby and AJ beat us in the last longer for the tag team event in the WSOP last year. So Abby, I think I bought AJ a beer, but you are still technically owed a beer from that performance, is my understanding. So we're gonna have to find a way to credit that at one point in the next little while. Maybe at a karaoke bar. There's a little tease for something later in the episode. You never know. So
that I'm in.
I know you're in.
Karaoke must in Vegas.
Yeah, it's super. I had a great time. Let's start. Let's go way back here a little bit. So I like to start these interviews. If folks don't know who's this Abby Merk character, how would you define your own place in the poker world this year in the summer of 2023?
So I'm a professional poker player. That's what I do full time. I just made the switch about like 6 months ago to, becoming a pro. I am also, though, an advocate for female empowerment, females' rights, and finding their place at the table. That's really important to me. And then I'm also a content creator. So definitely creating content for a bunch of different platforms, work for Poker News as a reporter, as I'm sure we'll talk about later. I make my own content on a bunch of different platforms at Abby Poker on pretty much everything. And that's really kind of what I love to do. So any of those titles, I'm happy to wear.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations on going pro. And I think, to really make it in the poker world these days, it helps to have a few different things going on in the poker industry. So I really like the way you talk about sort of creating content, playing as a profession, and then also having these other layers like the reporting and that kind of thing. That was one of the things I want to talk to you about. When we bumped into each other down in Vegas this year, you were splitting your time between playing the series and also reporting. So tell us a little bit about sort of how you got started with Poker News and what that experience was like.
Yeah, so I'm a firm believer to love what you do and do what you love. And for me, that's poker. So as soon as I started playing, I kind of fell in love with the game. I loved the strategy aspects. I loved the competitive nature of it. I loved how it was really a game of life, kind of, but you're playing at a table with 8 other people. So I knew that I wanted to be in this industry. I knew that I wanted to try to pursue my dream, and that was through poker. However, I also have a love of people, and at the poker table, that can look like going one-on-one in someone in a hand, trying to outsmart them, trying to outmaneuver them, trying to potentially make the best hand or make them believe that you have the best hand. But off the table, I really wanted to stay involved. I did a lot of work with female empowerment groups throughout the ages, such as Poker Power, who I'm very, very grateful for everything that I've done with them. And then I knew I wanted to stay involved just working with people outside of the poker table. So I kind of reached out to Poker News to see if that could be my next step. I loved the fact that I was able to talk to all the pros. I was able to ask them questions. What do the people want to hear? What do I want to know, right? Like, I'm going up to these players who have millions upon millions of lifetime earnings. They have thousands, millions, hundreds of millions of hands, different experiences. I'm like, what would I want to know? And all of that content content I really wanted to make approachable for everyone else. I didn't want to be the only one that was hearing these stories. So Poker News is an amazing platform to spread that.
Yeah, and they do a great job, and I know. So it's interesting. I don't hear about a lot of players being able to kind of split their time between playing and reporting, because the reporting side of it is a grind. So if people don't know,
sure.
I mean, it is a hard job. You're on all the time down there, and the poker community, as full of wonderful, generous people as it is, they can kind of have some quick, harsh feedback if there's some details wrong in a hand about their, I know Joe's like, no way. But yeah, some poker players, if the details of the hand reporting isn't like perfect, they can get a little snarky about it. What is that a unique arrangement that you were able to strike with them, to be able to kind of give yourself the flexibility to play, but also have this professional reporter commitment and mandate?
Yeah, so I think it's a little bit different for me because I'm actually not a reporter. So I don't take hand histories or anything like that from the players. I'm not like going from table to table trying to like find the action. What I was more doing was content creation. So I was like doing interviews and like in front of the camera work. I was trying to find niche topics to talk about with these pros and find things that I thought were interesting. So I was asking questions. For example, like my favorite one that I asked this summer was, okay, so you're in the main event, 10K buy-in. It's the very first hand, you sit down, blinds are 100, 200, sorry, 60K starting stack, 300 big blinds, very first hand. And you are 100% sure that the under the gun player has gone all in blind. What does your calling range consist of? Right? Like Chance Cornuth, what are you calling there? Right? If you're 100% sure that it's blind. And I was just curious. I'm like, what are the pros going to do in situations like that? I mean, that one might be a little bit silly, but we ask strategy questions. We ask day in the life questions. How do they strike a balanced lifestyle? Things like that. So my job was pretty unique in the sense that I didn't have to stay until 3 a.m. when the tournament broke. So I was actually able to talk to Poker News and work with them so that I was able to play a full schedule this summer and also do what I love in terms of content creation with them as well. So I'm super fortunate for that.
That's amazing. Yeah, fantastic. And would you say it was a success? And now I know, I mean, it must still feel like a grind being down. I was only down there for like less than 3 weeks, and I needed a break by the end of it. But how did it go?
It went amazingly. I mean, I got to talk to all of my idols. I met, my poker crushes, if you will, not in terms of like looks, but in terms of like skill. You know what I mean? These people, the idols is a better word than crushes.
Yeah.
The people that you just like look up to your whole life. And they actually quickly became some of my good friends. Like that is such a dream. You know what I mean? They're able to refer to me as my first name, not just like, content creator number one, right? So like that was really cool. I think that playing wise, I got to do what I love every single day. I was not making content and not interviewing, not finding those hooks. I was playing, and I was able to compete, and I was able to put my money where my mouth was, right, and get into the thick of it. So I had an absolute blast this summer. I think that the niche space that is poker is such a special one, and all it takes is sitting down in like one $300 gladiators tournament to see that. Like the people you meet are so special. So whether or not I was playing or doing some content, I just had a blast. The summer was an absolute success for me.
Yeah. And you mentioned sort of like, so it is a little hard at first walking up to these poker idols and asking them questions or interacting them with their game. I gotta say, since I started hosting the podcast, or since I got involved here at RecPoker, I've been impressed at how sort of like once you take a step into the poker world, how gracious and accommodating and generous all these people are. And it is pretty cool when it's sort of like you can have a one-to-one first name conversation with some of them. That's a non-trivial aspect of how much fun I get out of this, for sure. Were there a couple moments where you were sort of like, like how do I start this, or how do I interrupt this person? What was that like?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I'm a very outgoing person. I love to talk to people. I love when people talk to me. Like if I'm standing in line, please come say hi to me. Like I swear I will say hello back. I want to know your story. I want to know who you are. But there were a couple times when, my outgoing nature kind of maybe worked against me a little bit. Like for example, there's just etiquette at the poker table. Like if you're in the middle of a hand, I'm never gonna come like ask you, hey, can I grab you for an interview? Like never gonna happen. I didn't really also have anyone say no to me. Like everyone was pretty sweet because I was pretty considerate of the poker etiquette, never going in when you're paying the small blind or the big blind, just never doing it. Majority of the time it would be after you folded a hand in like middle position and like there was already something big going on. And I made sure to keep my interviews succinct. And if I knew they were going to be longer, then I was going to do it on break. So that was like kind of my strategy for actually approaching people. But I had some funny stories though, about how I actually met some people. For example, Phil Ivey, all right, known for being a particularly solemn guy, right? Doesn't break a smile. Like he's very focused, very locked in at the table. So my dumbass is walking around, trying to find people, and I'm with my coworker Brad. And it had been like a 7-hour day for us already. We're having a time. Like we're definitely, about to get off, right? We're trying to find a couple more people to like finish an interview segment, right? And I go by Phil Ivey, and I don't realize it's him at first. And I do the Michael Jackson, like, hee hee, like, you know what I mean? Like on your toes, and you do the full, like the Michael Jackson pose. And Phil Ivey, mid-hand, starts dying laughing. He literally, he's like, oh my God, like eye roll laughing at me. And of course, like he's the one that I've been trying to find for the past like 20 minutes to interview. And I'm like, God damn it. I'm like, now I have to go introduce myself to Phil Ivey after doing the Michael Jackson he in the middle of the aisle in a freaking 50K or whatever it was. So anyway, that was like, I don't know, a pretty good example of me biting myself in the, or shooting myself in the, I don't know.
But it worked, didn't it? I mean, he got the
did.
smile, and that helps a lot when it comes to getting the interview, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, good for you. Well, you reap what you sow. I believe that. I'll just remind our YouTube chatters, feel free if you've got any questions for Abby, type them up in the YouTube chat there. And if you're listening to this at home in the audio format, I would just say, boy, you should have tuned in for free on Monday night at 7:30 Eastern, because we do this every week, and you can come and chat with our guests in real time, and you can even win a prize in our food bank raffle at the end of the show. So stick around and come on, join us on YouTube on Monday evenings. Okay, so so the reporting side of thing, the content creation side of thing, I want to ask a little bit about that. How did you choose what platform or platforms to use? What kind of medium was going to be good for the content that you wanted to bring to the poker world? And how has that shaped the type of content, or like sort of the content itself that you produce?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. When it comes to picking where I kind of wanted to work and what I kind of wanted to do, Poker News was a really obvious choice for me. I had a lot of people that I had known that works there that I really respect. I had a lot of people that I had met throughout the ages that I just like trust as people. And I know that when I whether it was like me meeting a deliverable in terms of like promotion for a certain upcoming event, for example, like the main event, you got to do some type of video involving the main event. No sweat. I knew I was capable of doing that, but I also knew that they were going to give me kind of the freedom to have sort of a vision and be able to execute that. I just felt like that the Poker News, they're really reliable, very trustworthy brand. That was really important to me. The people I was going to be working with was also really important to me. And then the access to do what I needed to do was also really important to me. For example, I think like Poker.org only has like the first 5 minutes of every hour. And I was like, look, I'm trying to make content and I want it to be good. I want the access to the people that I want to talk to, and I want to explore the routes that I want to explore, and I need the time to like do that. So I think that the Poker News was an obvious choice because of that, and I'm really happy that I chose them because of all the content that we created together over the summer. Like I'm really happy with how it turned out, whether it was like some creative projects that I worked on with like Branson or Greg Goes All In for Poker News, or it was the more interview format that I worked on with some of my colleagues. It was a blast.
Nice. We've got a comment here from the YouTube chat from our my frenemies. Frenemies? It's a nemesis that's also a friend. We're working on the best way to say that.
Frenemy.
Frenemy, yeah, frenemies.
Yeah.
Frenemy's pretty good. Frenemy's pretty
Yeah.
good. They says that Phil Ivey is like the 5th best Phil. So that's coming from a Phil himself. So he's a little biased. So I want to know. Joe asks to see his ranking of the Phil. So maybe we'll get to that a little later in the show.
Sure.
Abby, was there anything about the experience of working with Poker News or working the floor or doing the content creation side that you feel like gives you an edge while playing poker, or maybe helps you think about things in a different way? Talk about that a little.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think that being a reporter and talking to people about, for example, strategy questions was really interesting to me. For example, I did some interviews like I was talking about before with the what's your calling range look like? And I would do questions, for example, a freeze out, or like how does your strategy change in a freeze out in comparison to a regular rebuy tournament? Does it change for you when you have 10 bajillion bullets to fire and you can just go play the Venetian? Like, you don't necessarily need to be at the WSOP. And also, like, who's taking those high variance routes? Who's ready to like be in it for the long grind? Do you want to be there from the beginning? Do you not want to be there from the beginning? Hearing all of those answers from all of the players that I respect the most, and also the players who have the results to be able to like have that opinion, definitely helped my game. I realized a lot about what variance is. I mean, I think that a lot of, for example, when I was asking people, it's a freeze out, you have 1 bullet, what are you going to do if the bullet doesn't go your way? They're snap rebuying into the Venetian, 2K, right? So it's like, they don't care about like the freeze out aspect as much as other people. And then other people that I interviewed would say, okay, well, I have 1 bullet into this. It's a high buy-in. I would like to be calling off less, since people are just not going to be bluffing as frequently. So like, hearing those things, you're just like, this is a great point. Like, maybe I didn't think about that, right? Add those little advantages to your game and start to become a better player for sure.
I like that's a great answer. Chris?
Yeah, Abby, we've got a question from YouTube, but it also kind of relates to one that I had when you mentioned this at the beginning. You just mentioned 6 months ago you sort of turned pro as a professional poker player. Question in YouTube is, when did you go from thinking I'm a poker player to I'm a professional poker player? And I guess my question, sort of to expand on that, is, what did you do to prepare yourself to, like, say, this is something I want to do, it's a dream, but it's something I've got to make reality, I've got to make work, I could burn out. You've seen people have the sort of things in poker where they just kind of flame out. So what did you do to prepare yourself to make that switch?
Yeah, I think the difference for me, I guess the switch that was made in my head from becoming like a amateur poker player to like a professional was doing it to support myself in the real world. So as soon as you make that switch, I think you can call yourself a professional, no matter if you've been doing it for a day or you've been doing it for 10 years. Poker is my primary source of income right now. So I'm going to call myself a professional, not necessarily because I was at the WSOP, but because I'm doing it for a living. So I think that I really hate the stereotype of like, oh, you're not a professional if you don't have X amount in Hendon Mob. Like, hell no, right? Like, if you are doing this and you are doing it seriously and you're putting the time into it, you can absolutely be a poker professional as well. I hate the like gatekeeping that comes with that term, but either way, that's one point. And then also, like, what did I do to prepare? So I'd like to give a small shout out to Chris Moon on this one. He's my coach. So I've worked with him for a couple months now, relatively new thing. He's been really helpful, but also I want to credit myself as well, because I've done a lot of studying and a lot of hard work that goes on behind the scenes, primarily into tournament poker. I think that cash is okay, and like, I like playing cash too, but tournaments are where my heart is. That's definitely what I've spent the most time studying, whether it comes to resources like GTO Wizard or Pio Solver or Munker Solver, things like that, Monk Reviewer, whatever. Like, these resources are accessible for anyone to use, and they're also something that's insanely helpful. Like, the more spots you see, the more times you've gone over the same thing, the better you'll be in the future. So I think that studying really hard for the series was a big part of my success this summer. But then also there's obviously variance of, okay, I got it in as a 70% and I'm not holding. Like, that's not great. So either way, a lot of hard work, a lot of patience, and help from friends, talking about hand histories with, I mean, even people we talked about earlier, like Angela Jordison, Jackie, Kaina, right? Like some of my girlfriends. And then also these people that I was meeting, I'm talking hand histories with like the crushers of the world, right? Like the people that, yeah, like just have the results and they're telling me, Abby, that's a punt, right? I'm like, oh shit, Jason Kuhn's telling me that's a punt. All right, I suck, right? So like, just making the adjustments and reaching out to people whose opinions I respect, hearing different opinions, what everyone would do on different streets, breaking it down step by step. It's been really, really helpful for my game.
And talk a little bit about sort of the importance of having a coach or having a community like that, because I think a lot of our listeners, like when I joined RecPoker as a premium member, it was because I had listened to the podcast. I listened to a lot of podcasts, I watched videos, I read books, I did a lot of pen and paper work on my own, but I really hamstrung my progress as a player by being a kind of a lurker and a loner and not getting help. So I talk about it a lot, but why don't you talk a little bit about sort of like why is it important? What do you get so much out of it that makes it so crucial?
Yeah, I love talking hand histories with literally anyone that will. Any skill level. I like talking to, even when I only play tournaments, like I like talking to cash game players. Because guess what? Not everyone that you're going to play against in a tournament is a cash game player. I like talking to people who I think are not that good at poker, and I like talking to the best in the world, right? Like I want to hear their perspectives because I'm using it to help my game. So for example, Landon Tice, one of my really good friends, someone whose game I respect a lot. I think he's a crusher. He's put a ton of time in, really respect him and his game. I'll talk a hand history with him and I will break everything down step by step with him, like street by street, pre-flop. I'll talk sizing with him and he will stop me at literally every point. Like one hand probably takes us like 25 minutes. It's insane. And he'll just be like, okay, you should be doing this like at this frequency. Why do you think that is? I'm like, that's a great question, Landon. Like, why would I do this? But then he'll also say too, he'll say things like, if this was me, I would be betting, or I would be calling with king high here, for example, right? And I'd say, okay, Landon, why do you think in this specific tournament against these specific people that they would ever be bluffing here, right? Like, because if you're calling with king high, that's a bluff catcher. He's like, well, I think that people are capable of doing this. And even hearing stuff like that changes my perspective on the way that people are looking. And then also when I play a player like Landon Tice, I can now use his logic and his reasoning to kind of make a better decision. And like, that's all poker is making the best decision that you possibly can with incomplete information. So I'll talk to everybody. Hit me up, you guys. Love talking hand histories, post literally all the time on my Instagram story, step by step. So if you ever want to slide up, let me know what you think. I'm literally reading every single one. So
nice. Well, let's I'll take you at your word. Let's talk a hand or two right now. So you were down in Vegas for the World Series of Poker. You got a chance to play a little bit. I'm sure you came across some interesting spots. What was one, let's just start. What was one hand that sort of caught your interest that you thought would be interesting to share with the group here?
Okay, let's do it. So I have a super fun one today. It's a hand that I played versus the one, the only Stephen Chidwick, absolute crusher. Literally, in my opinion, one of the best poker players alive right now.
Definitely.
Guy's a genius. And if there's anyone that's capable of having a bluff, it's going to be him. Let's hear what you guys think. So I'm in the cutoff, right? And I have ace queen offsuit. I have the ace of spades the ace of clubs and the queen of hearts. I don't have spades. That becomes important. So I raised to, it's all right. I've just doubled up. So at the beginning of the hand, I had about like 75, 80 big blinds effective. So I'm pretty deep. I have open raised to 2.2 big blinds from the cutoff. He's in the big blind. Okay. He defends his big blind. It's just heads up. The flop comes the ace of spades, the king of spades, and a 7 of hearts or something like that. It was an offsuit 7. It was not a spade. Okay. He checks to me and I bet small here. I bet about 1.5 big blinds. So definitely a small bet. I think upon like further review and study, that's probably not great. I think I can start betting really big with my sets and my 2 pairs here. So I kind of like a bigger size better here. And like, I can definitely do that with ace queen as well. Also shout out Pads for talking about this hand with me. Okay, so either way, I bet really small and he just called. So he floated the flop there. Also with the spade draw, maybe bigger bet is better. He's going to have a lot of spade combinations in the big blind. So not a great sizing. Okay, he just called. The turn is the queen of clubs. So not a spade, gives me 2 pair, favors my range. Good card, right? He checks. I now start to polarize because I, at this point, lose to 10 jack and that's it. No, also sets, but he really doesn't have a lot of sets here besides maybe sevens, which he might have been 3-betting me pre-flop with, given the way that he had been playing at the table. It's potential. I don't think he has a lot of 2 pairs himself here because I really think he would have been 3-betting that pre. I had seen him 3-bet like king, queen, right? Like ace king obviously is a 3-bet. Any other combination, like maybe he has like queen 7, king 7 type of thing, ace 7 occasionally, right? Like, but even ace 7, if it was suited, could have been a 3-bet from him. Definitely aggressive player, willing to put people to the test. Anyway, I bet big on this turn. So I think I had the best hand. I beat a lot of his perceived range. I bet big. I think I bet like 3/4 pot at this point. And he raises 4x.
Ooh.
So automatically I'm like, oh shit, I'm about to get into a gigapot with Stephen Chidwick. Like, oh my God.
And just remind the audience here for a second. So the
Yeah.
board is ace, king, 7, queen with 2 spades. Is that right? And we're
Correct.
holding ace, queen with no spades. So top pair, aces and queens. But as you say, there's sets and there's jack 10 for the straight. Okay. So he
Yeah.
check raises pretty emphatically.
Pretty big, yeah. And instantaneously, the thought that goes through my head is he's setting up a river jam. That's instantaneously what I think. Because I think this is actually where I think I make a mistake in this hand, because I think I should have, given the fact that I had recognized that, I should have been asking myself, am I ready to call off a river jam? What cards can I call off a river jam on if I call here? Do I want to ship? If I ship, am I getting called by worse, right? Like, all of these questions like should have kind of been going through my head. An additional element that was going on in this hand that was adding a lot of pressure was the fact that our table was breaking as we speak. Like Floor was throwing out chips throwing out cards, like redraw cards to other players at my table while I'm in the tank on the turn. So automatically a lot of stress, a lot of pressure going on, but I try to keep like a neutral head and just like make the best decision. This was the main event. It was the biggest buy-in of my life. Like the stakes were high on this call, right? So anyway, I think forever, and I do end up making the call with the plan to call off river jams on any non-spade, any non-10, and any non-7. I thought to myself, like, what hands could he be doing this with, like as a bluff? And I think that there were enough like 10x combinations of spades or jack X combination of spades, or potentially like if you have 10-7, for example, of spades, and you're literally sitting there with set blockers and flush blockers and straight blockers, and you're just going for it. Like, this is Stephen Chidwick we're talking about. This is not like Betty from Ohio, right? This is not Dave from Nebraska. Like, this is Stephen Chidwick. So if anyone's going to show up here with bluffs, like it's going to be this man. So either way, I ended up placing the call, and we go to a river, which is the 4 of hearts. So very clean river in terms of like his bluffs miss. He doesn't improve if he has a bluff. He thinks for a little bit, not super long, pretty balanced in his thought process, like no tells there, unfortunately, and then jams. And I knew it was coming. Like, I can't pretend like I'm like not, I can't pretend like I'm surprised to see this. If there's someone that's going to triple barrel, it's going to be Stephen Chidwick. And I thought forever, like I thought this was going to be a snap. Like my plan was literally to call off on any non-spade. And I ended up folding because I don't, and this is like something that I learned from playing with like a lot of these pros, especially for as long as I did this summer. I don't think the pros are bluffing as much as people think that they are. I think that they have a lot of edge in the field, and there is no reason for him to risk 80% of his own stack on a bluff versus me when his edge is so big versus like a lot of players. I hadn't been getting out of line. Like I had been playing really tight because I was short stacked for like a lot of the day before I had just doubled up in that hand. I don't know that there's a lot of reason why he would have to get out of line. He does have sets that play this way. Like he does have value hands that play this way. And like the thing that I kept on going back to in my hand is like, in my head is what value hands does he have that I beat? And I was forcing myself to like think about it. I'm sitting there, I'm like, does he play king queen this way? Right. Another 2-pair that's just like got ace jack dominated it, right? Like, does he play king queen this way? And I kept on telling myself that he wouldn't. Like, I literally think that he would be three betting that pre-flop. Like, I don't think that we would get to this spot with a value hand anymore. So it's polar. Like, it's you're telling me you have a set or 10 jack, or you have 10 high or jack high, basically, with spade. And I ended up making the folds, and I talked to him later about it. And I was like, hey, Steven, you should tell me what you had. Like, I'm a new pro to the scene. Like, I'd love to know if I made the right decision. Like, I respect your game a lot. Like, what did you have? And he wouldn't tell me. He's like, he was like, I respect your game. I really think we'll see each other again in the future. And like, I don't want to tell you for that reason. And I was like,
yeah, right.
Oh my God. But it was a great thing. Let me know what you guys think, though. If anyone has thoughts, what you would have done differently, I'm happy to hear it.
Yeah, it's an interesting spot because he's really, I mean, he's definitely do you think he's 3-betting 100% of the time with like aces and kings and queens pre-flop in that spot? Because that really puts him, sevens are really the only set that we can credit him with.
Right. Yeah, never getting there with fours.
Right. No, exactly. Not on that line. Kim, you unmuted there. What's on your mind, Kim?
Only because to me, when now it may be different in Steven's case, but to me, when he won't tell you what he had, makes it lean much more towards a bluff, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Than a value hand.
Because
he doesn't want to give you that information.
Because you think like that they like, so the pros.
I mean, most people will just say, like, if they had Jack 10, they'd say, I had Jack 10. You made a great fold. Right? Like, yeah. But it's like the fact that he won't tell, to me, leans more towards bluff, but I could be totally off base with that assessment.
Joe, what about you?
Well, I'm going to help Abby with her self-concept in poker, because I think the fact that he wouldn't tell probably speaks to his the power of Abby's game. That it's if you're never going to see somebody again, you're just not, you're either going to lie or you're going to just tell, right? You're not going to resist doing that, because that breaks the social contract and is uncomfortable for everybody involved. So whether he, look, I bow to anybody else's opinion, particularly Kim's, about whether that was a bluff or not. But I think that's feathering the cap that he resisted, that he might see you at a table, because he's telling me, because he'll never see me at the table again.
Yeah,
Thank you.
definitely. That. Abby, my question is, so you went into, you played the turn, you made this plan, calling the turn bet, and we talk about this all the time. Sometimes we talk about like the importance of having a plan, but we also talk about the importance of being able to pull the ripcord when things aren't coming out the way that you think that they would. So what caused you to change your mind between the turn? Because I really like the way that you laid this out. You're like, I had this plan, these are the safeguards. A safeguard came and then I folded. So talk about that process a little bit in your mind.
Yeah, I was thinking about two things, really. One of them I kind of mentioned, but just like the fact that I don't know that, like, so first of all, previous hands with him, when he had been betting polar in this way, it was to set up like river jams when he had really strong, really disguised hands. Also, he's betting like this into my range, so he has to be careful with how he's going about this. Like, you need to be really, really thoughtful about which hands you're going to go up against. Like, it's like under the gun versus button, right? Like, under the gun has everything here, button has nothing. Different situation, but you get the point. That was one thing I was thinking about. And then I was thinking about also, what should I be calling with that makes me not exploitable in the long run? Because it actually is important for me to have calling hands here, even if I lose. Is ace queen one of those hands? So I was kind of unaware. I actually think that I would have better hands to call this with than ace queen. And some of them are weaker than ace queen. Like obviously I have sets, which I'm going to call with like at a way higher frequency. I'm going to have 10 jack myself, which obviously I'm going to call. I'm going to have, but I'm also going to have like weaker hands that actually should be calling here. So for example, if I had like ace jack with the jack of spades, I almost have to call, right? Like, I don't know, like I be blocking a lot. Maybe ace jack with no spade is better because like I want him to have a flush draw, but like I'm blocking the straight. I think that would actually make more sense. But I'm thinking about like what hands like I should be calling with, and like, is this one of those hands? Like I can even have ace king here, which is like a better call than ace queen. So I ended up thinking that I was pretty bottom of range to make this call. And when I put everything like player type, hands that he had shown down, my gut was kind of just telling me to fold. And it was obviously for my tournament life. So, you know, but I don't know, I have a pretty good gut. Like every time I've made a call because like I have to, like I'm top of range, like, and my gut is like, holy shit, they're just not bluffing. Like I've been wrong. And I'm like, oh, but I'm not I'm not exploitable here. And like my gut's like, you know what they have, like just let it go. And this was just like one of those times when my gut was really telling me to get out of there. So I think that's what made me ended up changing my mind. He was also like for the rest of the time he had been like, I don't know if this is a tell because it's freaking Stephen Chidwick, like who knows. But he was like the entire time staring people down, like, you know, direct in the eye, whatever, it doesn't matter. And this time he was looking at the board and I was just like, you don't want to look at me, like, I don't know, maybe that's weakness. I don't think it is from Steven. Like it was just a lot of factors where I was just kind of like, this is not, I think I can find better spots. And more importantly, like not only does he have better edge in the field to be bluffing, like I have better edge in the field. I am a good poker player. And like, if we're about to break tables, I'm not going to get stuck on day 2 of the main event with freaking Steven Chidwick. Like I'm not going to go to a table full of like people that I've never met before. This is, why would I risk my tournament life here when I still have so much edge left and so much playability? Like after this hand, I had 40 bigs. Like that's fine. Like I have piles. It's the main, you know?
Yeah.
So a lot of those factors kind of went into me changing my mind, but.
Nice. Well, good answer. Good answer. Kim, you unmuted next.
Yeah, I think your observation that why would that pros that good won't bluff as much.
Yeah.
I think is really an excellent observation because they have such an edge on the field. So when they are bluffing, it's usually versus another pro or somebody they see as, you know, like playing on the exact same level as they are. So I really like your observation that way to lean towards it. But I want to ask you, like, why, if you thought you were going to reach a fold on the river on a blank, why did you call the 4X on the turn?
Yeah, I really wish that I had a good answer for that one. I fully was planning on calling on the 4 of hearts. I really was. Like, I was fully prepared to put my stack in. And I was going to beat that, you know, guy into a pot, right? Like, I was ready to click call. But I think when you're calling for your tournament life, if you're non-nutted, take your time, right? Like, this was for sure the biggest spot of my life. People say like think long, think wrong, but like I think I'm a pretty level-headed person, and like I think that, you know, thinking long doesn't necessarily mean think wrong for me. And like the more I thought about it and weighed all these factors that I was kind of talking about with what should I be calling with here, like what do I have better hands to call, like what bluff combos does he have that plays this way, like things like that. I don't think that the call on the turn was good by any means. Like if I know that I'm going to fold on a blank, like, you know, I should be out of there on the turn. But then there's also the tiny little factor of even if he has Jack 10, I have outs.
Yeah, right. Queens and aces exist. You never know.
Exactly.
That's the Bluff Storini approach right there. That's going to get you in some trouble, though, Abby. Just full credit.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, I like that take because I don't think any of us could have found a fold there on turn. But
tough.
Yeah, good for you.
Thanks.
Chris, you unmuted next.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, the thing that I really love about what you were saying about this hand, and because it's the main event, I think that does really change things, and it changes things even for people like Stephen Chidwick, right? Like I think like if this is like a Triton 100K and you're in there with Mateos and Kuhn and whatever, and you're sitting at that table, this same hand happens, I think you have to call. But like I think you're right. He's bluffing less in this spot. So I really love the read. And I don't even mind the turn call because like, I think even somebody like, Chidwick can give up here sometimes. Like once you call a 4x turn bet and they're just like, this, she's got it. She's not folding. So I don't even mind that. So I think it's a well played hand, and I love your ability to change that on the river, to change your plan on the river.
Thanks.
And I think, especially a player like Chidwick, he's going to have spots where he does set up the river shove and doesn't take it, right? Like that's part of being balanced on the turn for that player. So you put that in there, plus you get the chance to pair the board and fill up. I get the argument for that as well. John Somsky, you had something, I think.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I love your analysis there. I know if I were in that situation, I don't think I would have found the fold, but I'm a big believer in going with your gut because I think you pick up on things that you don't even necessarily know what you're picking up on, particularly when you're playing live. And I think you're dead on. For me, it may have been the most plus EV trying to double up in the main right there, but for you it was probably worth sticking around and trying to get to a table that wasn't quite as stacked as that one.
Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah, Joe?
And even if he did bluff you, one of the things I've learned in terms of becoming a better bluffer is recognizing when they actually recognize the bluff possibility on the board. And if they can't see it, then they're going to call you with whatever they have. And so the more they're trying to bluff you, the more that they think that you're probably pretty good.
For sure.
So a couple comments in the YouTube chat here. So Phil has been listing his favorite Phils. So far, it seems like it's a list of 2. Phil Collins is number 1 and Phil Hartman is number 2. Those are pretty hard to argue with. And gotta appreciate the humility of our own Phil for not putting himself even on the list of his favorite Phils. So that's something. Also, I have to use the segue to say I was talking to Martha today, and she reminded me how much she likes Phil. And even though she's not able to watch the podcast live right now because she's going through something, she wanted to say, make sure you tell Phil that Martha thinks he's really funny. I was like, oh God, you really got to make me say that to him. Like, talk about twisting the knife, Martha. Good Lord. But all right. So there was one other question in the YouTube chat here from Type Login. Chris, I just beat you to it.
Yep, you did.
Did you consider all in on the turn?
I did, but I was definitely thinking about what hands that he can call me with that are worse. Because if you're gonna jam, like you expect to get called by worse. And if I'm jamming the turn, he's just folding all his bluffs, which I don't want. And then if he has a better hand than me, he's calling. And I think that this was one of those situations where he is so unbelievably polar. Like he literally only has, again, like 10 or jack high, and he's got spades and he's bluffing, or he has the nuts. And that's kind of what I felt on the turn. And I think if I jam, it's kind of a punt, because like if I jam and I'm only getting called by better, it's not a good jam. So I didn't really consider jamming on the turn because I just couldn't name anything that I could get called by that was worse. Like I really, like, it goes back to that king queen question. Like, is he going to play king queen like this ever? And I just didn't think that he would, to be honest with you. Like, I really just don't think he's playing king queen like this. So I didn't consider a jam on the turn. But if you can tell me, and this is not like a, anger question. Like, if you can tell me like a hand that he can call with that I beat if I jam the turn, especially for like 40 more bigs or like 35 more bigs or however much it was, 30 bigs, maybe 30 to 40 bigs at this point, then I would love it and I would reconsider it next time for sure.
It did, as you were describing it, it did seem to me to be that spot where that dreaded spot where you allow them to play perfectly. Like you say, they just only continue with better hands. And anytime you're presenting an opponent with that option, you probably should have taken a better action if you're really allowing them to play perfectly. So that makes sense.
For sure.
So what's next for Abby Merk? You're working with Poker News. You're a professional poker player now. You're creating content. You're going on awesome podcasts. What what's next in the poker story for Abby Merk?
Yeah, so I'm doing some traveling upcoming here. I was thinking about going to Barcelona, but instead I'm actually going to go to Philadelphia, baby. Let's go. No, I'm just kidding.
America's Barcelona. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, no, it's gonna be great. But I'm going with Poker News there. So I'm gonna be doing some work in the late months of September. They got a big series out there with I can't even remember who's hosting it, but Poker Stars. Poker Stars is hosting it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, awesome. So I'll be there. It's a weekend tournament, 3 weekends in a row, so it'll be fun. But in terms of playing, they have a couple of MSPTs that are here in Chicago. They have the WSOP circuit stuff that's coming to Chicago. My boyfriend lives in Ohio, so like I'm gonna go travel to like Cincinnati and like Cleveland and stuff like that, because it's not only close to me, but it's also, I have a free place to stay. Let's go.
Nice. There you go. Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Just a little though. It's having a free place to stay for a traveling poker player makes a huge difference. It really does.
No, for sure. I totally agree. So I think that's kind of in the works. I was going to go to Florida because there's the Sherpo tournaments down there, but buy-ins were probably a little high. I don't know that I'm playing 10Ks consistently yet and 5Ks. So, I'm just playing within my range. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. Like in terms of people that, want to start playing tournaments, but maybe they're cash players and they're like, oh, well, I'm not playing the main event. Like, is it worth it? Yeah, right. Like $300 tournaments are just as fun as a 10K. Like really, if you love the game and you love what you do, like come to an MSPT and play a 250, right? Like, you have no excuse wherever you are in the world, just because you're not in Vegas, just because you're not able to buy into a 10K. Like, if you love it, you'll figure it out. And like, I'll see you there. So,
yeah, nice.
Can't wait.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, we got some fun people in the chat. Yeah, some of our members are right in that part of the world actually. So talking about what is it at the parks, and Phil and probably Jim Gibson might find their way up there. So you're gonna be in a good poker. You're gonna be a good poker place there. It sounds like we're actually talking about maybe doing a trip down to Cleveland for a Run Good event coming up.
I'll be there
in a while too. Oh yeah, sweet. Yeah, that is fun. They have so much fun on their tours, and that's one of those ones that you can drive to from Toronto. So you never know. You might see us down there. So speaking about having fun while you're out there and sort of enjoying the ride. How long were you down in Las Vegas for this series? Did you go down for the entire thing? How long? Because you're not in Vegas full time. How long were you there?
So I was there for like a month and a half, I would say. I flew there on like the 7th of June and then I left the 20th of July. So I was there for a minute. It was a long time to be in Vegas, but to be honest, every day in Vegas is literally just a brand new. The people that you talk to and the places you see, the hands you see, what people are showing down is insane some of the time. Like it is such a time. I would do it all over again if I could. I love Vegas, so happy to be there.
Nice. Well, it sounds like you got it all figured out. One thing that I got a real kick out of was we got a chance to do some karaoke with TJ and Branson and Mo and Jess there. That was my first time karaokeing in Las Vegas. Have you been out before down there in Sin City?
I hadn't in Vegas, but I will tell you, I probably went karaokeing, or I went to do karaoke. I don't know if that's a verb. I just made it a verb, but whatever.
It's a verb. It's totally a verb.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. I've only been like karaokeing probably like once in my life before Vegas. And
you got the pipes.
Vegas, and I did it like 11 times.
Oh.
I'm obsessed. It's so fun.
It is.
You can bring people together, sing whatever you want. It's just such a good time, good vibes. I can't wait to take you up on it again. We will do it for sure.
It was a blast. That was my first time in one of those like little private karaoke rooms. Yeah. So like it's there's different performance anxiety levels going on for that sort of thing. Yeah, Joe?
we were hoping there was some video that you could perhaps Jim singing. Everybody on the Wrecking Crew was hoping to see this video.
I probably would not be the best person for that. TJ has the footage for sure. He had his phone out all the time. But I will say this, Jim was literally the most wholesome singer I've ever met in my entire life. This man shows up with songs that I've never heard before, but they're similar vibes to like Sweet Home Alabama, if people know that. Like they're the most wholesome thing. It's like the Beatles, and he's playing, what was that one that's like from Canada? It's like about butter or something.
Oh no, that was
What's it about?
That was by the Tragically Hip. It was Ahead by a Century. Yeah,
yes.
that was a good one. That was a fun one.
It's literally the most wholesome thing. And you can play the like video in the background at karaoke. So he pulls up the song and there's like the video in the background and it's people just like wholesomely swinging on rocking chairs and they're like, I don't even know, they're like churning butter and shit. And we're just like, Jim, what is this?
That's why I felt like I had to switch to Satan as my motor at one point, just to like a little palate cleanser for the group there. Yeah.
I will now pay money for that video.
Yeah. Joe, from what I understand, there was a mysterious fire and all the evidence of that burned up. Yeah.
Those are rare, but
yeah, it's amazing how this keeps happening around these kinds of events. Yeah. Chris, did you have something there?
I was just going to ask if, since we've already mentioned Jackie Burkhart, I don't know if either of you have heard, but she apparently organized this legendary karaoke poker game in Portland, Oregon, which I think is a thing that. Have you heard of this, Abby? Have you heard tales of this?
I've seen pictures of it because her and Angela dressed up for it, so I've seen the pictures of it happening. But I wish I had some video footage because I literally have no clue how it like would take place.
Apparently, you just basically, when your name is called, you have to get up and sing right there. There's like an orbit penalty if you don't. And if you're in a hand, you still have to like do the mechanics while you're singing. And it's just, it sounds kind of legendary. So
yeah, we need to go.
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
Run good. We'll be there.
Oh yeah. Okay. We definitely have to do that then for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, Abby, you've got quite an edge up there on the karaoke's. If you're calling me wholesome, I was gonna say you freaking brought it. Bring those pipes to the show. That was awesome. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's a fun. Listen, it's like all these things, you know. We love this game of poker. We like making friends doing it. It's a social game. And the kind of folks that we like, we don't take ourselves too seriously. We have fun. We go out there and, you know, what did Branson say on his way out? He's like, hey, Jim, that was really fun. You really sing from the heart.
Yes.
That's like, that's what people say when they want to say something nice about the way that you're singing. It was super fun. So I am looking forward to that again for sure. All right. Well, the last question that I'm going to ask you today, thanks for your time. We're coming up on an hour here. So, you know, the guests are fun when time flies by like this. We've had a good time. Looking back on your life, this can be within poker or outside of poker. You've had all this success. You're living this wonderful life. We've only gotten an hour of insight into what goes on with you. But what's one thing you would do differently if you could do it all over again? One thing you would do different.
I'm calling Steven Chidwick, brother. Money. I was ready to. Like, I'm just kidding, but hindsight's 2020. Like, if you know you're gonna bust the main event before the money, like you're calling there every time. Like, show me a bluff. Like, show me a bluff. But no, I'm just kidding. If I had to do one thing differently, I think that I would have taken the leap earlier. I really, like I said this before, but like I'm just really into the idea that you should love what you do and do what you love. And like I have known for a couple years now that like poker is that for me. I always kind of knew that like it was something that I was doing when, not only when I had the like, free time, like it was something that I was making free time for. And like studying wasn't a chore to me. Like I actually really enjoyed learning the spots and like finding bluffs and like reading hands and being like, oh my God, like this was horrible. So like me making mistakes was fun for me. And like me losing money was good. You know what I mean? So either way, like I think, people are really afraid to take that leap and like jump into poker. And like whether you're a woman and you're struggling with that, like reach out to me because I'm more than happy to talk to you about that specific point. But also like if you're a guy or a girl and you're just like looking for the push you need to like get into poker and take the leap and do it and try it, this is your sign. Like anything can happen. And when you're doing what you love, it can never be, you can never be doing something wrong. So yeah, I think that would be my biggest regret, but it's all right.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Thanks for sharing with us. I appreciate that. And thanks for your time today. And I'm looking forward to what the future holds and seeing this continued ascent of Abby Poker in the poker sphere. So it sounds like we're definitely going to get some people out for that Cincinnati event. Maybe we can do some karaoke. The YouTube chat's going crazy about this poker karaoke idea here, the karaoke poker. So I think we're going to be doing something. Abby, if folks do want to reach out to you, it's at Abby Poker on Instagram and TikTok, and it's at Abby Poker 34 on Twitter. Is there anywhere else that people should look for you if they want to find you?
Yeah, I have a small YouTube channel. I've put out like 3 or 4 videos of me punting and losing money. So if you want to see that, feel free. It's a good time, but most of my stuff is on TikTok and Instagram. I post hand histories like literally almost every day. If you want to hear more like the Stephen Chidwick hand, me roasting myself for punts, yeah, my Instagram story is going to do it. I have a lot of interactive stuff on there too. Like, what would you do? I literally respond to people all the time about, hand histories or their thoughts on a hand, whatever. Because we're all just trying to get better at the end of the day. So yeah, find me there.
Right on. Well, we're going to do our little raffle here to support food banks in North America in particular. So folks can start entering the words food bank into the YouTube chat. Abby, thanks again for coming on the show. And it was a real pleasure talking to you. Yeah. Now, I think I don't usually put players on the spot, but I think I enjoyed talking strategy with you so much here. When we get offline, I'm going to send out an invite. Maybe we can have you back on the forums edition of the podcast and talk a little more strategy specifically. I think that'd be a lot of fun as well. Yeah.
I have a bunch
of nice.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Sweet. We're going to do it. All right. Well, I think you're welcome to stick around. We're going to spend the next 20 minutes talking about home games and that kind of thing. So feel free to just hit the X. And everyone, check out Abby on the various platforms. And you'll see her again right here at RecPoker. Thanks again, Abby.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Bye.
So yeah, folks, start typing the words food bank into the chat here, and we'll do our raffle. Thanks to either Chris or Joe's nerdy dice. We'll kind of have to figure that out as we go. I want to just before we get into that, I want to mention that it is the week. It is here. It is RecPoker weekend at Running Aces. It's coming up. It's right around the corner. It's this weekend. If you're listening to this live on YouTube and watching, I suppose, you've got a few days to get those flights booked and get your hotel reservations in at Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. And if you're listening to this live when it comes out on Friday, you can probably still make late registration of event number 1, which starts at 10 a.m. on Friday morning. Event number 2 is at 6 o'clock on Friday afternoon. And event number 3 is at 10 a.m. on Saturday morning. And then we're going to get a friendly RecPoker cash game set up after that. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Phil has put a bounty on me. This is an interstate bounty. He's put a bounty on me from multiple states away in event number 2, which is only open to RecPoker members. So if you take me out of event number 2, you're going to win $12.50 compliments of Phil Razor, who has put the money in escrow. I can confirm that the money is being held by an independent third party. Yeah, Chris, you want to jump in there?
Oh, I was just going to ask, because our listeners may want to know, what does it mean to be? I don't know. I don't know how to be a member. How do I do this? How can I? Oh. Can I just not play Friday night?
Great question. I mean,
thanks.
I mean, Chris, it's so easy to become a member here at RecPoker.
Oh, really? Tell me more.
And it's free.
It's free. Oh my God, really?
Yeah,
so
the value is
all
off the
free
charts.
community members are eligible, but only free community members are eligible to play Friday night. Is that what you're telling me?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Amazing, right? And you can go to rec.poker/register and just sign up for a free account right now. All it takes is an email address and a smile.
So you're saying that members who actually pay are not eligible?
I knew you were going to come in there with that, John.
I mean, that's what Chris implied.
Let me do you one better, John. not only are premium members also eligible for event number 2, but if you play in event number 1 and you're a premium member, then you get a $10 food voucher, which is just like putting money right in your pocket. And I'll remind folks, if you use the code RecPoker, you get your first month of premium membership for only $5. So just do some quick math here, show up at Running Aces, sign up for premium membership using code RecPoker for $5. Get a $10 food voucher in your pocket, your hot little hands right there. You've already made $5 by becoming a RecPoker premium member. And you get to play in event number 2, where you could win $12.50. Those are US dollars too, folks, just for some of our international members. That's $12.50 US cash in your pocket for taking me out. We are also going to have some other prizes, some RecPoker merchandise, some Running Aces swag. There is a player of the series race, so a points race for players throughout all 3 events. So do come and have some fun. It's going to be a blast, and I'm really looking forward to meeting some new RecPoker members and hanging out with some Wrecking Crew members. And I'm just glad Phil's not going to be there, because even though he's putting a bounty out on me, my own mother wants me to remind him that she thinks he's funny. So thanks, Phil, and thanks, Martha. Just throw me under the bus right there. But in all seriousness, Martha, I know you're not watching us live, but I know you're listening. And get better soon. We're all rooting for you over here on the Wrecking Crew. All right,
I just
John.
have to turn
Chris,
to one comment in the chat, which I think is going to be many of our strategies on Friday night of event number 2. Is type login says, "Nice, I'm 3-betting Jim every hand pre-flop."
Right. Yeah.
Could be a long night for you, Jim. Or a short night.
It sounds like it might be a pretty short night. Yeah, that's right. Well, that's okay. I'm just going to tighten up my range. I'm going to 4-bet at an appropriate frequency. And I'm going to put you in jail, type login. Come at me, Joseph. I know what's going on here. But yeah, I do think it's kind of interesting when players get a bounty on them, how it changes the dynamic at the table and how people should adjust. And I'm not doing it properly, but I think there is kind of an argument for examining how that affects the ranges that people should use. Joe, you unmuted there. Oh, sorry, John, go first.
I was just going to say, I think, the proper strategy when you have a bounty on yourself is just to have bigger hands. I mean, getting dealt bigger hands generally is a good idea.
Yeah. Is that about what you had in mind, Joe?
Well, sort of. I'll believe it when I see it, when you tighten up your range.
Maybe this is just what I needed. Maybe I have to, mostly when I play tournaments, I should just pretend that there's a bounty on me, and that'll be just what I need to kind of tighten up into a slightly less Blusterini approved model. All right. So, we got a lot of Food Bank people tonight. Well, let's see. Chris and Joe, you guys duke it out. Who's gonna, if it's DiceOcam or D20 online, whatever that one is. Let's do the order here. The first person I see is the RRRCCC, then Luke, then Ethan, then Joe, then Mary, then Phil, then type login, that's 7, then Dave, then Stuart. I see 9. Is that the same order that you guys? Yep. Okay. So you can't even roll the 8-sider. What, Chris and Joe? Who's it going to be?
Do you want me to? I can try to log in really quick. Here we go. Should we do the?
Okay, let's try it.
Okay, hold on.
Let's try the DiceOcam. This is real time technical mastery. John, you are muted, just so in case you're in full Somsky mode right now.
Got it.
Yes, I was.
Yeah. Were you? Was there something you'd like to share with the group, John?
I was just going to start the home game winners while we were waiting, but Chris is so fast that there's
There we go. Okay.
All right, here we go.
Okay, I've got a 10-sider.
What are you rolling? Okay.
Can you probably can't see it that well though, right? Can you?
No, I think.
Okay.
I think we'll know if you're BSing.
Okay. And if it's a 0, we'll roll again.
Okay.
All right, ready?
I like it. Here it comes. DiceOcam.
It's a 9. Can you tell that? It's a 9. I promise it's a 9.
Try it from the side a little. See if that angle works with the light. I think that's a 9. I can see a 9. It's either a 6 or a 9. I believe you.
It's definitely a 9. There. Can you tell the number there?
Yep.
Oh, that's the way. Get the light behind it. Yeah. All right. Dysocam. The Dysocam comes through, and it comes through for Stuart Carriage. That old son of a gun. Congratulations, Stu. And welcome. You have won a prize. Since you are already a RecPoker Premium member, you have won a month at either pokercoaching.com or Learn Pro Poker. I don't want to put words in the mouths of some of our other partners, so I won't keep saying them out loud, but I'm pretty sure you're going to have a good selection of a fantastic poker training sites that you have just won a free month of. And it's just one of the perks of showing up here on Monday nights to join the YouTube chat and win a prize for free. So Stuart, please send that email, info@rec.poker. John Somsky, you were about to unleash some home game winners on our audience here. Why don't you step right in?
Well, Kelly S, 1962-20, got her second nightly victory for the year.
Nice.
K-Poker wannabe Ron Payton got his seventh nightly victory for the year.
All he does is win.
Isma got his or her third nightly victory for the year.
Spike. Nice.
Hot Rod Bunny got his or her second nightly victory for the year. And Pet Vet 33, Kim Kilroy, got her fourth nightly victory for a year, bringing her to a lifetime achievement of 44.
Yeah,
so close to that.
That's man, 44. That's a lot.
Yes,
yeah,
it is.
That's like shooting your age in golf. You're getting really close there, Kim. Congratulations.
So then we have a big deal. 1992, Brian DeHaven got his second nightly victory for the year. K-Poker wannabe Ron Payton won the daily mixed event for the fourth time this year and second time in a row. Last week he was also the winner.
Holy
so
cow.
2 weeks in a row.
And Ron, if you're listening, I'm emailing you with your free month at Learn Pro Poker. We were having a little trouble getting the codes all sorted out, but congratulations on that. And congratulations on this freaking amazing streak you're on. We're talking about K-Poker wannabe like every week on the show here. So congratulations, Ron. Really, really well done. Very impressive.
He has had 15 wins this year.
Okay, wow. That's amazing.
Wow.
That's amazing.
You know, that's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Another point I was going to bring up is the games have been Badoogie. However, we played our Badoogie game in April. This was supposed to be Raz. I have mixed it for this coming Saturday, so we will get in one practice event of Raz prior to our next week's our mixed game series for August. But I apologize for that. Jaden Jewell, Mary McCune got her first international victory.
Yeah, Mary. No, this is awesome. Mary and I have been talking for a while now. She was really looking forward to getting that first pin. I'm really excited for her. Congratulations, Mary. Way to go. I know you've been working hard on that one. You deserve it. Nicely done.
Then B-Chip Charles Allen got his third international victory for the year. And Licorice Guy, Citing Jesus, won the daily LPP event, so he can contact info@rec.poker for his free month at Learn Pro Poker.
Yeah, Citing Jesus. Don't be afraid to hit me up there. And make sure you get your free month at LPP. And congratulations to Charles, too. It's amazing. I just love seeing these folks that you get more involved in the stuff that we do here at Rec Poker. And then all of a sudden, we see your name in the winner's circle more and more often. I don't think it's a coincidence, folks. I think the more you engage with other people who love poker and think about poker and talk about poker and sort of keep your mind steeped in poker, the better it is. And the results don't lie. So congratulations to all our winners. What else? Is there anything else that we should cover tonight, folks? I feel like we had a great interview with Abby. We are all stoked about Rec Poker Weekend at Running Aces coming up. I guess I'll thank our sponsors one more time, the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. I want to thank Abby Merk for her time. This amazing group in the YouTube chat. I get so much out of seeing these people having fun in the YouTube chat. And I know I speak for the rest of the Wrecking crew at the same time. So thank you guys. Thanks to all our premium members. Of course, John, Joe, Kim, and Chris, we couldn't do it without you. And everyone else out there. And Phil for saying nice things in the chat. You're the best too. All right, everybody. Have a great week, and we'll see you all next week.